And welcome to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my special guest today, Mr. Tim Lofton. Welcome back to the program, Tim.
Thanks, you, Paul.
It's good to be with you, man.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to getting started on this topic today. It's important to have a plan, Tim. We know that. We realize that because, you don't plan a vacation without a plan, right?
That's true. However, I'm sure you've seen the study that more people spend time planning their family vacation than they do their retirement.
No, come on, really?
That is a true study.
That's insane to me. But I want to ask you this question. So I know this is super important to you. Where does that come from? What is it from your background? What's your background?
It is. And so, planning for me really started in the military. So I was an infantry officer.
First of all, thank you for your service.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you. But as a young infantry officer, it was just drilled in our head. I mean, we spent so much time on planning, and it was drilled into our head as to why. Now, the idea was, well, this is life and death, right? Is retirement really that much different?
No.
Retirement is life or death too, isn't
yes,
it? I mean, it is, literally when people run out of money, they don't run out of money at 70. They run out of money at 85.
Right.
And there's nothing they can do about it.
Right.
Right? And so anyway, as we used to do planning for, whatever infantry operation we were doing, it was really pushed down to us that you have to spend about 20% of your time actually putting together a plan. So here's where we're going to go, here's what we're going to do, here's how we're going to do it, right?
Yeah.
80% of our time was spent on contingencies of all the things that could go wrong. And if you think about it, there is nothing more accurate than retirement planning when it comes to that story right there.
Boy, no kidding.
Right? I mean, for our folks at home, I mean, it's life. It's not a matter of when something's going to happen or if something's going to happen. It's going to happen. And so no matter how great your plans are, things go wrong. A great story, not a great story, but a good example, I guess. We had a client, flew for Delta Airlines, great guy, great family, did everything right, Paul. He saved, retired with no debt, did everything he was supposed to do, everything we asked of him. He retired and was ready to live his best life. And then one day he goes to the mailbox. Opens up the mailbox. There's a letter from Delta, and in that letter it says, you're not going to get your pension anymore.
What?
It's done. There's no more pension. Third of his income, gone. Just like that.
Oh, man.
I mean, imagine being in those shoes. Imagine what that would feel like.
I can't even imagine that.
So, obviously he was angry. Obviously there was a reaction there. But what didn't happen was panic. And you know why that is, Paul?
Why?
Because we had a plan. Not that we knew that his pension was going to go away,
right?
But we had put a plan in place that in the future, if he did need an increase in income, it was also in the event that he were to pass away because his spouse would have gotten less money. It happened to be about a third of his income that we were simply able to go and turn on early.
Right. The opposite to that is imagine if he didn't have that plan and that pension got cut off, right? I mean, think about this, folks. It's your future. It's your plan. It's your retirement. Do you want the government in charge of it? Do you want your employer in charge of it? In this case, Delta? Or do you want to be in charge of it? Because employers let us down. The government lets us down. The bottom line is it needs to be your personal pension plan, right, Tim?
That's exactly right. So having a plan in place was the answer for him. And it's the answer for everyone.
Everyone.
We're trying to create a calm in a world of chaos.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, the folks at home have all these worries, all these concerns, and we're trying to offer up solutions, but it starts with them taking control and making a plan.
Yes, it does.
And that's not going to happen on its own, Paul.
No, it's not. You know, it's interesting. If one thing COVID taught us is the value of our time. I have noticed the differences in folks and how we are putting more value on our time. And that's the important thing about planning too, right, Tim? Because when you plan effectively, you don't have to start over, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about here, because you invest 20, 30 years of your life to get to this place, right? Because you want to enjoy it. The last thing you want to hear is an uh-oh. And then realize that you may have to go back to work. I mean, what if your health's not in a good spot, right? I mean, you know, one of the second biggest concern I've heard a lot, as a matter of fact, the surveys out there that support it, is folks are really, really concerned about having some form of a major medical or health condition happen to them in retirement and that draining their nest egg. I mean, is there things that folks can do to prevent that, Tim?
Well, once they hit 65 and they have Medicare and a supplement, the health part of it is pretty much buttoned up for the most part. I mean, the programs that we have are really, really good. Now, getting the right one, that's an area we can help with. But once you have that in place, there's less of a chance of that draining their nest egg. What's more likely to drain their nest egg, and this is more end of life stuff, is really that long-term care stay. A stay in a nursing home can be devastating to somebody who has worked literally all their lives, and it can eat up their entire savings.
Well, listen, today you have a special offer for the viewers out there to try to help them find clarity in this chaos, right? Would you mind sharing with the good folks what you're offering today, Tim?
Sure. For the folks at home, we're asking you to come in and meet with us, not for us, but for you. We want to build you a retirement blueprint. This, for the very reason that you wouldn't try and build a house without a blueprint, you certainly wouldn't live in a house without a blueprint, is the same reason why you shouldn't retire without a blueprint. Come to our office for a complimentary review. Let us send you home with a blueprint for your life, for your family. Let us make a difference today. Come in and see us.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I love it. Imagine your home without a blueprint. Imagine that home doesn't have windows, and you finally figure that out after. You're like, wow, what do I do now? Imagine your retirement without it. And you forgot that one component that impacts everything else. How secure could you possibly be? But guess what? There are solutions. That's why you get a retirement blueprint. Call Tim and his team and get your copy. Let them design that plan, the one you can depend on. Because again, this is up to you. You're in charge. You're doing the hiring because it's your business in retirement. It's your money. 855-684-3485. Again, that's a complimentary review with Tim and his team. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, and my guest today is Mr. Tim Lofton. Tim, I understand. You got a pretty good background in athletics. Matter of fact, you were a triathlete at one point in college, right?
I was.
Yeah.
I did triathlon, ultra distance running.
Really?
All that kind of stuff. I loved it. And Paul, you know, just interestingly enough, that has quite a parallel to what I do now.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So if you think about, you know, with triathlon, and especially with like Ironmans and longer distance racing, so much of it is preparation. It's the training. You know, the race happens on one day, but the training for the race happens for months and months and months in advance. And very similar to retirement, you know, the saving happens over a long period of time. People will start, you know, when they're younger, and it builds up and builds up and builds up. And you know, one of the things that I learned early on in ultra distance racing and Ironmans is that a small mistake early on, maybe you know, having your sock bunched up, it creates a blister, and by the time you get to the running part, remember that triathlon's a swim, then the bike, then a run. So you're swimming for, you know, 2.4 miles.
Yeah.
And then you get out, and then you get on your bicycle and you bike for 112 miles. If you have a problem on that bike, maybe you know, you get a sunburn or you get a blister, or by the time you get off your bike and start that 26.2 mile marathon run, you can be in a world of problems. Not too much different than in retirement. You know, you make a bad decision in your 60s by taking too much risk, by not having a tax plan. And by the time you get to the end, to that run, you end up with running out of money. You end up with some really big problems that you can't fix at that point. You've got to correct those problems early on. That's really what we want to do for folks. We want to help them train. We want to help them get through that race that we call retirement and get through it successfully.
Yeah, get prepared, be ready.
Exactly.
Right? You know, I wanted to ask you a little bit about, because you talked about the different areas of being a triathlete and the parallels in the decades, but also there'd be parallels to that. You know, when you look at retirement in general, the different facets and how they're all impacted, right? Social Security optimization, when you take that, impacts your income, right? And that impacts your tax burden, right? And effective tax planning, market volatility, all these things touch one another, just like they do in a triathlon, correct?
Exactly.
You know, speaking of, if you don't mind, Social Security, because I know this is on top of people's minds out there. They get that big manual, Tim, and everybody's like, holy mackerel. I mean, I was reading somewhere there's 700 different ways or something to take Social Security. So when is the best time to take Social Security?
Well, that question is impossible to answer without understanding exactly somebody's story, right? I'm always happy when I get that question, because that means that they haven't already decided. Because so many times we have people that come into the office that have already claimed Social Security just to find out that they probably didn't claim it in the best way possible. I mean, people are shocked to find out how many different ways there is to claim Social Security.
I know, it's crazy.
And you know, it can make a huge difference. I mean, an example, we had a client, they had done a pretty good job of saving and really didn't need to start Social Security, but they did anyway. And their thought process was that, you know, I don't know if it's going to be around. Like, everybody's worried that Social Security is just going to go away. Now, you know, in the world of government, there would be no quicker way to never get reelected than to make Social Security go away. But nonetheless.
Yeah, you most certainly don't want to be that president.
Right. And so they were worried about that. And of course, there's the argument that, you know, if you wait till age 70 versus 62, that the crossover point's like 80 years old, right? And so there's that argument. So might as well take it now. That's not wrong. It's just in this couple's case, he had the bigger Social Security and he had the bigger pension. And when he passed away, the pension was going to go away. So he claimed at 62, and he was getting a couple $1,000 versus, had he waited till age 70, would have gotten about $4,000 a month. And the key there is if he passed away, that would have covered the difference in what she wouldn't have gotten with his pension. And so they didn't need the money. It's not the idea that they did it wrong per se, but from a planning standpoint, if he really thought through it, he would have been so much better off by waiting and setting her up versus us having to do a bunch of extra planning on the back end to try and fix that problem. So then instead of having the government covering that concern, we had to fix it with their own assets. And they had to make investment decisions differently than they would have if they'd have just simply done some planning, and that would have been guaranteed by the government. So it's one of those things where you need to have somebody on your side that knows what they're doing to sit down with you, to help you through those decisions, to ask the right questions, to listen, to hear you, and then to act.
That's good stuff. You know, I wanted to ask you a question, if I could, about 401ks or someone's existing 401k, because it got me thinking on retirement. There are folks out there, if they have an existing 401k that they may have left behind, because a lot of times you see that, right? Or someone changes, I guess now more than ever, people are changing careers 2, 3, 4, 5 times.
Sure.
And believe it or not, I've heard stories where people have forgotten about 401ks from years ago.
For sure.
Now, they may be sitting and growing, but you can't really contribute to them.
No.
So it's kind of like a dormant, really, 401k, because there is no more contribution. Are you guys able to help folks with those types of things, even though you may not have been the one to set that 401k up?
Sure, of course. So, you know, consolidation is often a reason people come to the office. You know, we talk about that box of puzzle pieces, right?
Yeah.
That's in their box.
It's one of them, right?
One of the puzzle, some of the puzzle pieces, and they have all these statements and all these things, and they don't really know what it's in. They don't really know what it's doing. They just know that they have it. And it's exactly that. You know, they've had a career where they've worked a few years here and a few years there. They've accumulated these different plans. In some cases, they've rolled them over to different IRAs, but then they never combined those IRAs. And so they have all these different accounts. And nobody is really looking at all of them. You know, in many cases, nobody's looking at any of them.
It's true.
But in for sure, nobody's looking at all of them. And so, you know, one of the things that we are always asking people about is, you know, what is your plan with all this? And they say, well, I don't know. That's why we're here, right?
I mean, that's a great question, Tim. That's one I'm hoping you're going to answer for me, right?
That's why we showed up here, is because we have no idea. Which is a fine answer, by the way. There is nothing wrong with that. I mean, that's what our job is. But we really want to try and help that consolidation process. It gets somebody looking at the whole picture versus just pieces of it. And that's one of the big mistakes that we see in the industry, is they've got a tax guy over here, and they got an estate planning person over here, and a wealth management person, and a planner, but nobody's talking. And the whole idea of the retirement blueprint is that everything's under one roof. That they're getting the legal and the tax and all that together, combined.
You know, the reason I asked you that question is because I had a lady that had asked me in the past, you know, she had an existing 401k, and here was her disappointment. She's like, Paul, I work for a big company. You know, my HR department, they don't really, you know, offer much advice on my 401k. I don't really know where to go. I tried to talk to my financial advisor at the time, and I just got the impression, because he didn't set it up, he wasn't really interested in helping me with it. And that kind of it bothered me a little bit. But let me ask you this question. If there is somebody out there in the greater Dayton area, and they've got an existing 401k, and they don't really feel like they're getting any kind of real direction in it, is that something they can bring to you and your team too? Of
course. You know, our team works with people every day on helping them with monies that we may not be able to per se roll over and work with, but making sure that what the advice that they're given coincides with the opportunities and the things that they have with their other plans.
Nice.
So we're still looking at all of it, even if we can't work with it. It's crazy to me that, and I've heard that from a lot of people, that, you know, basically my person said that if they can't hold it, that they can't, you know, help me. And I'm like, well, that's horrible. I mean, because big companies are not, you know, designed to give money management advice, right?
That's not what they do.
That's not what they do. And so there's a gap there. And with most people's net worth wrapped up in these plans, not getting good advice, or getting the advice off of Google, or their buddy at the water cooler that, you know, is a self-described, you know, financial guy, you know, he's done really well, so I'm going to listen to him. What's his background? Well, he's an engineer. It's like, you know,
but he read Warren Buffett's book.
Yeah,
you know, stuff like that I get. I'm like,
he's seen Susie Orman on TV.
Yeah,
I mean, he knows what's up.
I don't know if that's solid financial planning. Okay, listen, we got to take a break here. Would you do me a favor and remind the good folks out there in Dayton what you're offering when they call in today, Tim?
Sure. So for everyone at home, when you come to our office, the one thing we're going to send you out with is that retirement blueprint. It's going to really give you an idea of what you have, where it's going, and gives you the background to know on a contingency standpoint, if something goes wrong, you're going to have answers. You're going to have solutions at your disposal. That's what we're here about. We want to do life with you.
But that doesn't happen until you start the process. Because to take advantage of that complimentary review that Tim and his team are offering, you got to pick up the phone. That's what it takes. You want to be in control. You need to be in control. This is your money. You sacrificed a lot of time to get to where you are, right? You want to make sure that it does exactly what you intended it to do, don't you? 855-684-3485. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back after these messages.
When was the last time you saw your financial professional? Are you getting the most out of the strategy that was created for you? Although you've done a great job finding someone to help plan for your future, are you 100% sure that you were given the right strategy? We can help answer these questions and more with a complimentary second opinion evaluation. We will take a look at what you have in place and then help determine if you're well positioned to get the most out of your future retirement income. In the event that it is not, we can help by making suggestions and showing you how to get on the right path. You wouldn't get just one opinion when it comes to a major health decision, so why would you treat your most important financial decision with such disregard? Call today for your no-cost, no-obligation second opinion evaluation to see if you're getting the most out of your retirement income plan.
Retirement is about choosing where you want to go and mapping out a plan to get there. That's why I created the Retirement Blueprint. Of course, things don't always go according to plan. Come learn how our team can help you avoid potential hazards and find alternate routes. We're here to do life with you and share your journey. Let us blueprint your life to keep you on track to make sure you get the most out of retirement. Are you on the road to success? Call us today for a complimentary review to find out. Let us plan your tomorrow today.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Retirement Blueprint Show. I'm your host, Paul Gebhard, with my co-host, Mr. Tim Lofton. Some incredible information on the importance of retiring with a plan. I mean, that's vital. You got to have that. We talked a lot about rolling over 401ks that may be sitting dormant, right? You know, in this day and age, inflation is having a major impact in every aspect of our lives. I mean, I think we've seen it now more than ever. Market volatility. We talk about that. A lot of folks I know, they feel very comfortable where they are because their money's been growing for the last 10, 12 years.
Sure.
But in a lot of ways, that can be dangerous, right, Tim? Just letting money sit because it has been growing?
No, you're exactly right, Paul. And if you look at the end of every good time, complacency is typically the reason why people get their teeth kicked in. I mean, it just happens over and over and over again. I remember back, so this is 2000, so this is the end of the tech boom.
Yeah.
And I remember being on a call with the research group, and they were talking about, you know, that you need to get on the phone and ask your clients if their accounts went down 80%, if they'd be okay with that, right? And at the time, and this is crazy even to think back on it, but back then, everybody owned tech. They all owned tech stocks. Like,
yes.
That was a thing. And, you know, good or bad, that's the way it was. And I remember, you know, that call like it was yesterday, and talking to those clients and going through that with them and making those changes just in the nick of time, right? And the precursor to that, of what really set up my thought process of this is close to the end, is I had a little old lady, a grandma, that knew nothing about nothing when it came to tech stocks or technology in general,
right,
call and she wanted to buy tech stocks. You know, she was like 80 some years old, and her grandson had told her about something, and then she thought she was, and I'm like, if ever there was a time where this thing is at its end, you know, it's kind of like, you know, the gasoline crisis. You know, everybody's buying the Hummers and you know, all these big SUVs, and you know, you can always tell when you're getting to the end of the cycle.
Boy, no doubt about that. Speaking of gas prices, have you seen gas prices lately?
I have indeed.
My goodness, and I guess I keep coming back to inflation, but boy, I really just think that I just see this a lot. I mean, folks forget certain aspects in their retirement, and inflation is one I see a lot of. We just talked a little bit about market volatility and how people get complacent. That's an area where people, you know, need to really focus. But all this comes back to that blueprint you talked about.
Yeah.
You know, and you talked about there's 4 good pillars to retirement. Would you share what those pillars are, Tim?
Yeah, sure. So when the whole idea of a cornerstone, and that's kind of, you know, that's the building block that you build your foundation on.
Yeah.
So those cornerstones have to be strong.
Yes.
And that's really what the retirement blueprint is about. It's those cornerstones. And the first cornerstone is having an income plan.
Yeah.
Making sure that your income is going to go now and forever into the future and not run out.
Yeah.
We have the tax cornerstone, making sure that you have a tax plan, a proactive tax plan for your future. The other cornerstone, of course, is healthcare, long-term care, making sure that that's squared away. And then lastly, making sure that you have an estate plan that's going to wrap around all of that and keep you safe.
And bringing those 4 corners together is what we're talking about, right? Would you share with the folks out there what you can do to make sure that their 4 cornerstones are in place?
We want to put a foundation together for you. One that's going to work and one that's going to take care of you and your family as you go through retirement. So important. Take the time. Take action. You're in control. You get to decide. Who are you going to partner with? Come in and see us. Let us build a plan that's going to work for you. Call us today. The number's right there on your screen.
And again, that's a complimentary review. 855-684-3485. Because it is about you. You are in charge. Taking control today. Making all the difference. The questions that you ask yourself over and over again, you know they won't change if you don't take action. The relationship that you want to build, the partnership through retirement, is that phone call away. Give Tim and his team a call. Let them get to know you. 855-684-3485. Thank you for being with us. Be well and enjoy your retirement.